This episode is sponsored by the store at Nicole Bruce Education. Go to www.nicolebruce.co for more info and learning material.
Thank you for listening to the Mentor Project, where we discuss marketing, SEO, how to go full-time in your business, and so much more. Here's your host, Nicole Bruce.
Today we welcome Lissie Wickes to the show. Now, Lissie is one of those people that are absolutely incredible, but tend to stay behind the scenes. She's the lead editor of my company, White Fox Wedding Photography, and one of the most talented and amazing people I know. She edits full-time, overcoming her chronic illness as a provider for her household alongside her husband, Jack, and serves as an inspiration to us all. Today's episode, we're not only going to explore her story, but hopefully inspire everyone who is listening on how you can become full-time in your industry and how to get over the fear of failure. Liz, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so for those that may not know who you are quite yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
My name is Liz, or by my business name, I go by Lissie. I have been a professional editor now for the last year. So I basically do what you guys do behind the scenes. I just do it for you. So I don't know. I just found a need for it, and lo and behold, this is what I do now.
This is now my life.
This is not my life officially.
So last week we were just talking via Facebook Messenger, which we do a lot, and this topic just randomly came up. So as you kind of said before, you are our editor for White Fox, and since then have become a really close friend as well. But last week we were talking about the actual process of pushing yourself into creating a business and how so many people are just scared to take that jump and move from a 9 to 5 to being an actual business owner. So Liz, can you talk to us about how you kind of made that change from 9 to 5 to owning a business?
Well, I mean, my story is probably going to be different than a lot of other people, but at the same time, if I didn't have like the circumstances that I had and I wasn't pushed into different situations that I was pushed into, I would probably still be working a 9 to 5. So for me, I just moved actually to the States 2 years ago. I got married and I moved here. And if anyone knows anything about the immigration process, you can't work. So while I was waiting for my green card to process, while I was waiting to get my work visa approved, I basically just sat and I edited and I, just did a lot of stuff for fun. So I kind of like refined my skills that that's not really, I wouldn't say that's a very normal thing for a lot of people to literally have no choice. Like I just had to sit there and do nothing. Which it's really hard when you go from like being very independent to then not being allowed to do certain things. So I would say that probably was pretty motivating just to start with. But finally, when my immigration stuff went through, I started working at kind of like what I thought was like, my graphic design career, bottom rung of the step ladder, so to speak. And I started working full-time for a screen printing shop. And I was so excited. It was great. And then after the first week, suddenly I couldn't see. I woke up one day and I had, it's called diplopia. So like my vision was completely off. It was completely out, and ended up in hospital. And the dream job I was so excited about, I got fired from my first week while I was in hospital with no idea what's wrong with me. They're like, we need somebody ASAP, and you're obviously hospitalized. So sorry. So I, around the exact same time, I got a very life-changing diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So basically, what that is, it's a neurological disease that your immune system like eats away at the white matter on your brain. So it causes some pretty crazy side effects. One of those for me is, it affects my everyday life. And I found that I really am not able to work a standard 9 to 5. So my options were basically to not work and do, just be at home and just be sick, or, try and use the skills that I had and work from home and do whatever I could to bring in the income that my husband and I desperately needed. We had just purchased a home, like literally the week before I was in hospital.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah, so kind of a big deal. Um, so we were relying on obviously that dual income. I mean, I'd always kind of had that, thought in my head, the likelihood of me running a business on the side while I'm working full time, which is pretty common for a lot of people in the industry. I think that was kind of what I was planning on doing. And then obviously this happened. I got sick. And so I just decided to start doing what I could. I started. A friend of mine was like, "You know what? You have these skills. You really should utilize them. I think there's a real need for this." And it took a little bit of a kick for me because I was just convinced, there's no way that people would actually want to hire me for this. There's no way I could make like a full time, you know, income out of editing for other people. Like they can do this. They don't need me.
Right.
Clearly that's not the case. So hey, thanks guys. But yeah, so that's just how it started. Like I just had a really crappy situation that honestly was, I'll be completely vulnerable here and say that it was a scary few weeks while I was trying to, you know, sort my life out while having this drastic, life changing, there's no cure for this illness that's affecting my entire life, and then not being able to work on top of it. So I kind of got thrown into it. And thankfully, I have a really good support system, and they were like, just do it. You know what? If it means that, we have some really tight months, then so be it. But um, yeah, that's just it just happened. It just I look back and I'm like, oh, I do this now. Like I actually get to live like my dream job doing this all day, every day, and it's because a really horrible thing happened that was outside of my control.
Yeah, but
And
you took that thing and you made it into the dream job that you wanted. So,
I do have to pinch myself, every day when I get, inquiries for, hey, so and so preferred you, and I love your work. Like you just, it's so humbling, I guess, to be like, oh, people actually, like I can actually help people. I can help them, get time with their families. I can help them live their dream job. There's a lot of people who don't like to edit. And to me, that was a shock
mhm,
because I love to edit. Like the photography side of things, I love it, but it doesn't have the same thrill.
yeah.
And so I can help people. And that is so cool that I can give that by doing something that I love. I can give them back time with their families, and they can put the energy that they want to into the part of their business that they really enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's so interesting because great businesses are usually built in kind of a spur of a moment. I mean, there's obviously a little bit of planning involved, but I know when I started White Fox, and I've mentioned this before, it was at 3 a.m. one day. And we had a situation similar in the housing aspect where we just had moved and we got this house. We didn't buy it, but we still had a hefty rent payment to make. And I was like, we need money. Like, I need to do something. So I just made White Fox one day at 3 a.m. and it's been history ever since then.
And I have to say, it was pretty much the same. Like, this. friend of mine, she just was like, you know what? I'm going to tag you in all these editing posts because you may not see them, but I see them and I see a need. And she tagged me, and the rest was history. Like, just from there, you want to talk about creating a business completely spur of the moment. Like, it started that night. That night, I quickly did a really quick, you know, logo and, you know, cover photo and like some really quick branding in 10 Design and Illustrator. And a year later, it hasn't changed because I haven't had time. So, you know, it's just, yeah, so I can completely relate to that. And a lot of other um, businesses, and not even in like the photography or graphic design field, but in so many others, I find that you get faced with a challenge, and you can either, you know, let it overwhelm you and kind of consume you, or you can, um, you know, let it, you know, do what you can with it. And out of that came, for me, it came, you know, to be my heading firm, and for you, it was White Fox.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the people that are in situations similar to what you went through, and maybe just getting a new house and or moving across the country like I did with no job, which probably wasn't very smart. um but it worked out. um
I can't say I don't relate to that. So,
But I feel like those situations are kind of what pushes us to get over the fear of failure. Because if you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, but I have this comfy 9 to 5, my life is great, then you're never really going to want to make that jump, or it's going to be a lot harder to get into a business because you're already comfortable and you have the fear of failing and not having what you have now.
absolutely. Like, I am going to be the first one to say I have no problem with people who work 9 to 5s. If that's your dream, then, you know, keep at
Hmm.
it. You know, if you're in the, you know, part of the, you know, corporate world or what have you, that there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. And if that's your passion, and you know, if owning, you know, a business on the side, you know, that's just something that you like to fill your time, then that's great, you know. But don't think that just because you work a 9 to 5 and you're comfortable and you're earning a decent income. Don't get me wrong, money's important. It absolutely is. But it doesn't have to be your whole life
Hmm.
either. Like, you know, there are things you can completely let go of. You know, I will be the first one to say, since, you know, moving to the United States specifically, that there is a very different, you and I were just talking about this the other day, that there is a very different, like, standard of living
Hmm.
here, that people are afraid to break away from that standard. But, you know, if the drive is there, if the will is there, and I mean, I almost got lucky, I want to say, in a way that I had no choice. It was either this or nothing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have the option, but I can see how having the option would almost be even more
Yeah.
scary, because you're willing yourself to, you know, to leave that, you know, comfort, that check every week, 2 weeks, what have you. But I have to be the first one to say, and I'm certainly not, but that you completely, you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. And so if you hadn't kind of made that sudden change and those events hadn't happened, do you think you would be in a 9 to 5 now, or do you think you would have still started a business?
Well, because my illness kind of gets in the way of things. There are certain things that I can do and certain things that I can't. Um, Mind you, I think that if I hadn't kind of dove headfirst into this, or even, like, you know, stumbled into a niche that, you know, was there, um, I would probably be really sick and pushing myself to do something that I really wasn't happy with. Just to do whatever I could to make the money, because realistically, my husband and I couldn't live where we live, without having two
Hmm.
incomes. So, I thankfully have this, which allows me to be flexible, allows me to, on the days where I'm really not well, like, I don't have to work. I can, I don't have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning, get ready for work, and then leave, and then be away all day, and then come home, and then have to do it all over again. If I have a bad day, I can push off the work for a couple hours, or I can take the rest that I need and just kind of get the distance to work on my health more than, um, more on, are we going to be able to eat this month? Like, I thankfully don't have to make that decision between my health and my illness and whether I'm going to be able to provide for my family. And I think that was the biggest motivation in doing this. And it's still a drive I have every single day. And I think it's a little bit easier for me because I get to wake up and I get to do exactly what I want to do with my life
Yeah.
every day. And that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's the dream. I mean, some people want to do a 9 to 5, and like you said, that's totally fine. There definitely is a benefit to going to work and coming home and not having to think about work or
Yeah.
message clients or take phone calls, in your quote unquote off hours. Um,
I will say this much. What's an off hour?
yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I specifically have my hours set, that I specifically work on most of my client images between midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning. That's pretty much
Mhm.
when I work. And I answer, it's because during that period of time, you guys are all sleeping. So my husband already works nights. So it just happens to be that I'm able to work a very flexible schedule. I don't have to wake up for, a 10 a.m. shift. I can sleep in and do all my work when, there isn't anyone really to message me, which really allows me to give the most of myself to my clients because I feel like I'm not distracted the same. Like I'm not looking at work for, 20 minutes and then I have a client trying to send me work. I do all of my admin stuff. All of my clients messaging me usually happens during the day. So that allows me to really work on just the actual work, like the color corrections, the, composites, pretty much anything. But I'm still able to give back to them during the
Mhm.
day.
Yep, and then you've been practicing taking off weekends too, right?
This is a new thing. It's probably the number one thing that Nicole gets on me about is making sure that I have the time for set aside for myself. Thankfully, my husband works consistent 4 on, 4 off evening, like night shift schedule. So, because of the flexibility of my job, I'm able to take off the days that he has off as well with him. So when he's at work at night, I I'm also working. It's just in my pajamas. Let's be honest here. So
Yeah, that's my everyday life.
yeah.
I was going through my clothes yesterday, and when I used to go through my clothes, like, in college, I would go through the dresser, and, like, anything I didn't wear in, like, the past 30 or 60 days, I would donate
Yeah.
because I wore a different outfit every day, and if I wasn't wearing it, then there was no point in having it. But,
Oh yeah.
I went through my closet yesterday and I was like, I haven't worn anything in here in the past 60 days.
I can completely relate with you on that one.
It's just leggings and t-shirts.
It's almost weird now because now when I actually go out during like the normal hours that other people are out, like, oh, I have a random, like, because my spouse works 4 on, 4 off, often like my 2 days off will be Tuesday and Wednesday. Or, if it happens to be, that his off days are on like a Saturday or a Sunday and then we're out and I look around like there's so many people. Like they're all dressed nicely. I'm like, jeans? What are those? Like what? Because we honestly live in leggings and t-shirts, and I know it sounds so dumb that we kind of have we just I'm home all day and I don't put in any effort into myself at all because I don't have to. There's nobody seeing me. It's me and my dogs. So,
Mhm.
but no. So yeah, I can completely relate to that.
Yeah, my like sad relating to that is when I go out for groceries like once a week and I walk outside and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's so bright out here."
I'm like, oh, it's the middle of the summertime, but I wouldn't know because my AC set it to 72.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is it really the middle end of August? Oh, sorry, I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I'm,
Mm.
well, I mean, I guess that has something to do with the fact that I'm wide awake at 3 a.m. So
Yeah. So, when you were like in college and growing up, did you ever think of running a business or is that something that just kind of came along with a diagnosis?
I went to school for business. I was actually planning on going into marketing and advertising, which kind of merged into graphic design. And I was really hoping to get into small business branding. So I kind of did. I mean, as I got married, my husband and I, talking about starting a family, we kind of just assumed that I would, eventually take to some sort of business from home full time while we're, raising a family. Um, but I didn't expect it to happen so soon. Like, and I didn't expect it to come, you know, out of the blue one day, or one night, just okay, this is my life now. This is my job. Like I never expected it to happen that way. I expected it to be sitting down, completely creating a business plan from scratch, going in, getting loans, like a big structured process. And
Right.
that's not what this was. It wasn't structured. It wasn't clean. It was, actually I'd say the opposite. It was completely messy. I would go so far as to say it wasn't done properly, and I've kind of had to do the proper steps as we go. Like we all know how important it is to have a proper registered business. So suddenly I'm taking on all of these clients, and at the same time I'm like, okay, trying to make sure that I'm, earning enough that I can put the percentage away that I have to do, like to pay my taxes at the end of the year, and just sorting through all of that business stuff that I didn't think that I would have to launch into quite so soon. I kind of expected to have more time. And then I didn't. And it was happening, and the clients were coming. And then suddenly I was working with clients and filing quarterly taxes and all this all at the same time. And I think that if you could do it more organized, it would probably be a little bit less overwhelming. But um, you bloom in the face of adversity, right? Like right when you expect that you're not able to do something. It has nothing to do with anybody else. I proved myself wrong. Like, you don't know how many times, like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do this. I went to take a 9 to 5 because I didn't think that this is something that I would be able to do at the age of 24. And now I'm 26 and I earn somehow on some months more than my husband does working, 60 hours a week. So, it's been just such a blessing for us and for my family and for my future family that we have, that I've somehow been able to do this completely out of nowhere. But it's not really out of nowhere because I've had these skills. I've been working on these skills for years. I'm just now putting them into, an actual, like, I'm utilizing them now in a way that I didn't before, and a way that I didn't even think that I would be able to before. And that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many of us have these talents already, and it's just, I think the first part of every business plan is how do I get over my fear of failing? And how do I actually start this for myself? And I think when we're into situations where we really don't have a choice, it makes it easier on us. And when we're in 9 to 5s and we already have that comfort, it's so hard to transition because you have like you have the possibility of actually losing that comfort that you already have by that 9 to 5.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's just I've been trying to figure out how to explain to people how they can get over that fear. But I think really what I've come up with is if you have the fear of failure, then you're not going to fail because you're not going to
Yeah,
let yourself fail.
Yeah, I think that we honestly hold ourselves back a lot. And I mean, I it's so weird to say that I feel blessed and I actually appreciate being handed this chronic illness that affects my life every day, because if I didn't have it, I don't know where I would still be. Like I'm sure I would be fine, but I don't think that I would be happy, and I don't think I would be doing the same thing. I wouldn't be feeling, the same success, the same pride that I feel every day, knowing that I wake up doing something that I love, which in turn helps somebody else to do something that they love. Like I just think that that is so cool. So cool.
Yeah, that's something I think about a lot with our company too, because we literally, I mean, we put dinner on people's tables, like even
You
with
sure do.
you
You
and with our
Yeah.
photographers, and we get to be such a huge impact in their life and such a huge improvement, helping them fund free time and time with family and friends. And, if they want to buy their first house when they get married, it's
Mhm.
such a wonderful thing.
It is. It's very cool. And I do have to say, like, I mean, I have a plethora of clients who I absolutely love. And I'm so glad that you are one of them, because I love working with you. I love working with the photographers that you hire. I love seeing the work that such a big variety of clients can come up with. We all have kind of the same field. We all kind of have similar skills, but it's really cool to see how each photographer does things completely different, even with using the exact same, the same cameras, the same lenses. Everything is so like unique, and it's really cool to see that. I guess that kind of like style come through from each person. Eventually, when you've started to work with them, like with me, as I work with, I probably pulled up five new clients this week, and it's so cool to see how they may all have the exact same like editing style, but I'll never have like oh, this looks really familiar to this client's work. It's all just so different and so unique.
Yeah, and that's something I've always said as far as the whole like community over competition thing is you can give someone the same camera, the same lens, you can even give them the same exact preset you use for editing, and their photos will look 180 degrees different, like complete opposite of what
Yeah,
you usually do.
yeah, and that is like I don't know. I think that's why I kind of decided to. I didn't give up on photography, but I just found that this is where my passion lies, and it really is just like that. I just get to see such a variety of work come through, and with clients who message me and they're like, "I am drowning in work. I need help," and that I'm able to edit them in such a way that they can still be proud of the work that comes through. Because I know it's really hard to let somebody else have, I guess, control over your images. I don't know if I'd be able to do that myself. So the amount of trust that gets put on me, actually the amount of responsibility that gets put on me, is like I hope that clients see how much, like how appreciative I am, and I guess how much I see it, that that's not easy to do. And I can completely respect that, and I really, I guess, just in what I do, I really want people to know that we editors as a whole, not even just me, like we're not here, like I'm not here just to make money. That's not what I'm here for. It's the fact that I get to do this, and I get to help you, and I get to help you gain back a little bit of control in your life, because you're able to either take on more clients, and you're able to trust somebody else to know that when you receive your images uh, from me, they're going to look like what you would do yourself. That is what I think is really important um, in this field. Is like I'm not going to edit the way that I want to edit these things. I am editing them for what you want them to look like,
Yeah.
and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. The whole thing is pretty cool.
I think it's kind of a newer field, because I feel like a year and a half ago, like outsourcing your editing was not really a big thing. But now it's like I've seen so many amazing editors just like I don't know where they were hiding. Like they're all over the place and they're phenomenal. Like so many outstanding editors in our community. Like there's honestly a plethora of them. They're all over the place and they are I I'm so glad that I'm able to be a part of this community where there's so many different skills and so much talent just everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. And it's the same for photography. People always complain about mom togs and, all this other silly stuff. But everyone in the photography community, we all start somewhere. We all have different levels that we're at different times. But there are just gobs of talented people in the creative community, just as a whole. And I think Facebook and Instagram have really kind of helped us to connect together too.
Oh yeah, if I my entire business operates out of Facebook. I couldn't do it without social media, honestly. So yeah, I mean it's incredibly it's like I would say two of the most influential platforms out there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the biggest question, what would your main piece of advice be for those who have fear of changing over from full time to owning their own business?
I think you just have to accept the fact that it's going to be really hard, um, but that one day you are going to be doing exactly what you want to do and you're going to wonder why you ever questioned it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty
So
spot on.
I think you just have to dive in feet first and you just have to trust yourself that you have the skills that you know what you're doing and just do it. And I hate to say that there's no equation to it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You just have to trust yourself.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So, gosh, we've talked about so much today. We've talked about
You know,
fears of running a business, how to get over it, being thrown into business, overcoming chronic illness to still be a boss. Uh, Geez, we've talked about so much. Okay, so what I want to do before we log off, let's ask you a few fun questions, and
okay.
then I want to give everyone the opportunity to reach you if they would like to, or if they want to have editing done, which you may hate me for because you might have like a million messages.
Yeah.
But okay, fun questions. I know the first one you already hate me for. So,
Yeah.
ocean or mountains?
Okay. So I'm from the Pacific Northwest. Where I come from, we have both. So you expect me to choose between two? Well, I live in Florida now, so I'm surrounded by the ocean. So I'm gonna say probably mountains because you always want what you don't
Yes.
have.
Amen. Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask you cats or dogs, but I thought that was gonna be too evil.
uh, both the questions are bad because I have both cats and dogs, and so really I couldn't choose.
Yeah, I know. Okay, what's your favorite ice cream?
I'm really boring. I like vanilla, and I like to add on all the toppings myself.
Okay, what toppings do you usually add on?
Lately, I'm into caramel and mini M&Ms. That is,
Oh, yum.
it, I know it's bad. It's probably what I'm eating at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm editing your photos.
Okay, that's why they look so good.
Running on a sugar high.
Yeah, I was gonna say, your attention to detail is
Thanks.
supreme. Okay, what is your dream vacation?
I am a freaky Jane Austen fan, so Bath is going to be my first go do as soon as I get a week off. Somewhere in Europe.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sounds good, sounds good. Okay, so before we log off, Liz can be found on Facebook via her page, The Wickes Collective. Wickes is spelled Wickes, or via her personal profile, Lizzie Wickes.
Yeah, I mean, I do everything from color corrections to composites. Lately, I've been really into helping photographers find their style and actually creating presets for them based on the look that they want. So, yeah, pretty much just anything editing wise that I can get my hands on. that's what I do.
Hell yeah. Okay. So thank you so much for coming on today. I know that you were a little nervous,
A
but
little
you
bit.
did so good, and I'm so excited to release this one.
Oh, I'm excited to hear it. I'm kind of nervous about hearing my voice on computer because this is new territory for me.
No, you're good. My first podcast I did, I was literally like shaking and sweating the whole time.
It
So,
actually went better than I thought that it would have. Although I do think that I probably said a lot. So hey, sorry about that, guys.
it's fine. It's a thinking word. It means good thoughts are going on.
It's there's just it the brain just it never stops.
That's a good thing. All right. So thank you again for coming on. And for those of you that are listening, of course, thank you as always. See you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Mentor Project with Nicole Bruce. Tune in next time for more on marketing, SEO, and going full time as a creative.